These are your directions for your color mix challenge. Remember your name and teacher code on the back. Before you begin with paint, you will add a 1-inch grid to your paper. Find the 0 mark on your paper and line it up with the edge. And then at every inch, you're going to make a small, light pencil mark, a little tick mark, so you know where to draw your vertical lines. As you can see, they're pretty light, so I can easily erase if I need to. Then you're going to draw those vertical lines by lining your ruler up with the edge of the top of your paper, and make sure your pointer and your thumb are pressing down and kind of spread apart so your ruler does not wobble around on you, and carefully draw those vertical lines. It's important that you make them as straight as you can, so take your time. You will repeat the same process to draw your horizontal lines that go across. So find the 0 mark on your ruler and line it up with the top of your paper. And then at every inch, you'll just make a tiny little light mark so you know where to draw your lines. Then, just as before, you're going to line your ruler up with the edge of your paper so we know it's straight. Kind of keep your fingers spread so your ruler doesn't wobble, and create a nice light line so that if you need to erase, you can. Take your time so they're as straight as you can make them. Notice I made my grid lines as straight as possible, and it's nice and light. Although you probably know how to create your secondary colors at this time, there is a helpful chart on my bulletin board if you need it as a reference. You are welcome to use a paint palette as long as you care for them. So if you just take and dip your brush in the color of your choice and twist it to kind of scrape it off, you only need probably about a dime size amount of paint. You do not need a lot of paint. Think of how small those spaces are that you're painting in. And then if you're not quite ready to mix them yet, don't touch the two colors together so that you're not mixing paint inside of the egg carton. Rinse your brush very thoroughly and blot it every single time before you dip into a new color. Then go ahead and gently mix them together. You should not have a lot of paint. If you end up with a little more than you intend, you can always turn it into a new color. Then, using the very tippy top of your brush, you're going to gently paint inside of any square you choose. I kind of like to start on the edges and sort of work my way towards the middle, just so that I'm not getting any paint on my hand as I work. And do your best to stay in those lines. You can always make corrections as your swatches dry. Really rinse your brush when you get ready to switch colors. Ultimately, you get to decide how you create all your colors. Come up with as many unique colors as you can possibly think of. Yes, we know how to make our secondary colors, hopefully at this point, but can you make tertiary colors? Can you make tints? Can you make different varieties of brown? See what you can come up with, try some experimenting, and fill up all of your squares. At cleanup time, it's helpful to use a paper towel to get out as much paint as possible. When you go to rinse a palette, it's important that you do not turn the sink on very much, because otherwise it will spray the front of you, paint and water and all. Take your time, rinse it out thoroughly, and then place it back in the basket. When you're finished, you'll have a grid filled with all sorts of unique colors created by you and a really interesting work of art.